Hello, my love. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to the luxury of self-care. I have a sidekick next to me today, and today was a really interesting day for me, and this is either going to be your favorite episode or this is going to be your least favorite episode. I'm gonna clear that I want to make sure that no one thinks that I am starting this episode off with a complaint. But I had a really emotional morning. I've had a pretty emotional week. That's just where I've been at since daylight savings time. I've been having some really good days, and then I've been having some not so good days. And today started off as a not so good day and turned into a really excellent day. So I wanted to be honest. And the point of this is to clear where I'm at. At Lululemon, we always start off each shift with a clearing or any of our meetings online. And I wanted to share with you today here on the podcast in this space where I'm at today was not a good place emotionally, because I woke up this morning with a new attitude, and I wanted to share that this is what I wanted to talk about today. So I'm going to start off with this. I woke up a little earlier today. When my alarm went off, I decided I'm going to start with a breathing exercise each morning to amp me up for the day. And I used it within the class that I taught later today as well, in my power yoga class. And that was this thing that I was taught to breathe in for 5 minutes, hold your breath at the top of the breath for 5 seconds, not minutes. Breathe in for 5 minutes, hold your breath at the top of your inhale for 5 seconds, and then go ahead and exhale for 10, which sounds insane, right? But I did that this morning, 3 rounds of this breathing cycle. Inhale for 5 seconds, hold for 5 seconds, exhale for 10. And I want to invite everyone to do that with me, no matter where you're at in this moment. If you're listening to me while you're on the go, which is how I listen to podcasts and always recommend listening to podcasts, please, if you're driving, don't close your eyes. If you're not, if you're in a moment that you can put down what you're doing just for a second and join me in this process and breathe in for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold at the top for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, let's do 2 more of those. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Last one. Inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes. Take note of how you feel right now in this moment, because I can tell you how I felt in that moment today when I did this series. I was like, okay, great. Like, I'm ready to tackle my day. I think I'm going to be fine. I started after that series, then I wrote down in my gratitude journal something that I was grateful for today. And then I used that as a mantra and took the next 5 minutes closing my eyes, saying, which I said to myself on Monday in a yoga class. I got there early, was able to focus, fixate, and do a mantra for 10 minutes before the class started. And one hand on my heart, one on my belly. I always say to do that because it's just like a nice reassurance that your heartbeat attaches to your belly, rise and fall, and it all works simultaneously together. So you have to find harmony in your life. Things have to connect. You have to work as a team in order to get success, is what I kind of connect to when I do that. So when I'm on this verge of one hand on heart, one on belly, I was saying over and over and over again. My favorite one, it's literally on my background screen, which just popped up almost just simultaneously. Like, I swear sometimes things are intertwined. And it is, I am ambitious, I am capable, I am courageous, I am vibrant. And I just repeated that mantra. It has nothing to do with me being vain with myself. It helps me go into life. It helps me walk into life proud, honored to be myself, excited to be challenged, ready for enthusiasm, and just noticing what I have to bring to the table. So within that, I had moved on after that to start reading a chapter of my book every day. So I went to bed at 10:30 last night to wake up at 6:30 in order to spend the first 45 minutes reading a chapter of my book, doing a mantra, being grateful for something. Because sometimes I like to wake up at 7:15. That's usually when the alarm goes off. I changed it to 6:30 just to see how I felt. And within that, I thought it was going to make my day better, and it did, but it also allowed me to realize I needed to admit where I was at, and I was super emotional. And so you can ask Douglas, you can ask any of my friends, like, when I feel something, I feel it. And when I'm really happy, I'm really happy. And when I'm really sad, I'm really sad. When I'm really frustrated, I'm really frustrated. And I can ping pong between all those different emotions in a full day's time. I don't like to sit and wallow for too long, but I do think it's super important for us to do so. Have you ever gotten in your door and like collapsed on the floor and then cried for a good 5 minutes and then took that strong inhale after the cry and then been able to like pick yourself back up and move on? Well, that's because you needed that release. Or have you ever seen that within little kids? They'll fall, they'll scrape their knee, they'll allow themselves to go to that place of ugliness, negativity, or whatever we think it becomes as adults, and they go there. And I feel that we don't do this. I don't know where it stopped. It was like, you're not allowed to feel this way anymore. Like, it's not appropriate. I do think that you need to walk in and check your stuff at the door, but I do think you can go in and say, this is where I'm at, which is why Lululemon does something like a clearing. And I just want to clear with you all that I had a super emotional day. The reason being, in the middle of my meeting, once I started my meeting, I had one about the building that I manage with my mom briefly, and then I had to hop off, and I had a meeting with Lululemon today. In the middle of that meeting, Miko, who now you've all seen, and I'm sure seen on my social media, was choking on she was choking on a bone. And I've never experienced that before. She's eaten bones a million times, but I was like, I felt helpless. Like, I couldn't do anything. I didn't know how to help her. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I was running around the apartment after her, like trying to help her, and she ran under the bed, and I kept running back and forth from side to side because she kept running away from me under the bed, and she had this bone caught in her throat, and I was literally losing my shit. Excuse me for swearing, but like, I was losing my shit running around back and forth like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my dog right now. Like, this is gonna happen. I need to accept this reality. And again, I told you I probably was gonna get emotional today, so I gave you a fair warning. But I'm running back and forth under this bed, freaking out, thinking like, there's no way, like, I'm gonna have to get her to the vet. I don't have a car right now. I'm gonna have to call an Uber. Are they gonna even come? You know, can my family members get me in time? My brother's out of town. Like, how fast your mind works. And it turned out that I finally got a hold of her. I was just watching her struggle in this moment, and it just shook me in the sense of like, when we're drowning in life, when we're struggling in life, when we're doing things that we don't want to do, we have the opportunity to ask for help. And I think we should. I think we should really go there and feel like we can ask for help or accept help. And I've noticed that, like, we looked so poorly upon mental health at one point, and now here I have a podcast with a following of 60 to 100 people per episode. And I have such a support team that constantly, gives me positive things. And I have my own my own therapist and my self coach, and people are encouraged to do these things now because it is important for us to ask for help. And in this moment where I really thought, oh my God, my dog who doesn't have a voice, who's helpless in this moment, I'm not going to be able to save. I'm not going to be able to help. And it really scared me. Like, clearly I'm still shook up about it, and it's like, this happened 8 hours ago. And I think that what I realized is that, like, we need to care for moments when we feel them. If she would have acted as if it wasn't a big deal, then no one would have helped her, right? So I also noticed this in stubbornness. And most of my friends that are close to me know this, but my grandfather's been in the hospital. He is almost 88 years old. So like, I know he's getting old, and he's been carrying around an oxygen tank for a couple years now. And I feel as if I can share this because he's doing better, but he gave us a scare about 2 weeks ago. He's been in the hospital. We've all the cousins, all my family members, my uncles have all been calling him, and we check in with him, and I got to talk to him for 45 minutes today. And whenever I have a conversation with my grandpa, it is extremely meaningful. Like, we don't talk every single time I'm there. Like, I tell him I love him. We say the food was good. It's very surface level conversations from time to time, but when I do get him on that rare occasion that we are able to like really talk, I'm so amazed by what he's done and what his thoughts are. And we do not agree on a lot of things. Especially politics, we don't agree on those, but it was interesting for us to both sit there and say, when we come to the table, when we present ourselves to someone else, that we admit that we believe in ourselves and we want to share with others. Like, if you give us the chance, we won't let you down. And I was talking to him about interviews and different stuff like that, about how my dad has been so helpful for me in those interviews, and he's always been such a strong cheerleader for me. So he's like my male figure, right? And I know that my grandpa and my dad don't always see eye to eye. They're very different, but where they are the same is that they are ambitious, they're capable, they're courageous, and they're vibrant. They don't bury their heads in the sand. They speak their mind, they speak their truth, and sometimes it's a lot, but my dad did a really good job on raising 2 really wonderful kids, and I so appreciate him for that. And my dad and I know he loves me so much. My dad's always been such a strong cheerleader for me, but also my dad didn't approve when Doug asked to marry me. And so I was having this conversation with my grandpa because I know that my grandpa and my dad don't always have the best, relationship, or it doesn't appear like that because they have different interests, but they are the same. And I want my dad to realize that I have chosen a partner because he's always been my number one cheerleader, and I found someone in my life. And I told Doug this the other day because I had to share it with him because I've been so emotional over the past few weeks. But like, when I can cheerlead for myself, Doug is my number one cheerleader. Like, if you can find a partner that is your cheerleader, oh, it is so amazing. It is so wonderful. It is inspiring. I never thought that was a thing. I never thought it was capable. Like, this is my ugliest moment, right? Like, I'm ugly crying here on the internet. I'm ugly crying here virtually in the world, for the world. And I don't want to apologize for it, because I think finding those connections in life and admitting where you're at and being a cheerleader for someone else and finding a cheerleader for yourself and being able to show up to the table as a strong, ambitious, capable, courageous, vibrant human being is all we can strive for. And what I've noticed over time, and I know we've talked a lot recently in life, whatever side you're on, and I don't think there's sides at all, but speaking of opportunities, when I walked into a room as an actor in New York City, I felt as if if I started to look around the room and compare myself to every other white, blonde singer, dancer, actor that was about my height, about my weight, I would start to pick everything apart on my own body that wasn't as good as someone else's. And that's where I failed as an actor, when I failed. And when I walked into an audition room and was ambitious and capable and courageous for what I had and vibrant about my energy, that's when I succeeded, because I wasn't comparing myself to other people. I was saying, this is me, this is who I am. I really hope it fits your mold. If it doesn't, no harm done. You have a specific puzzle piece you're putting together, and I don't fit. It has nothing to do with your talent level sometimes. It truly doesn't. And I was saying to my grandpa, I said, you got to look at opportunity and you walk into life and you got to see these moments and you just have to give what you are, and you are alone. And I think that's what we need to offer to the world. So as my day kind of progressed, I very briefly, and not into this much detail, talked a little bit about my morning and cleared about Miko and the choking, and cleared about my emotional conversation with my grandpa, and just admitted where I was at. And it was so beautiful, because what I noticed was I created this clear space for everyone in my class today, all 10 people, I don't remember, I think it was like 10, 12 people in the class, to share where they were at. And some were joyous, some were anxious, some were lost, some were just as emotional as I was. And there's been a lot going on right in this past week, especially with everything that happened in Boulder and everything that happened in Georgia. Like, the world, oh, my ugly cry, the world is just like, it's crazy. And it's really hard to turn on the news and feel inspired. But we also want to be aware of what's going on, and we want to recognize everything that's happening. I am not a fan of the news, and I think I've said that on here more than once. I just feel like it ignites fear, and I want to ignite ambition, capability, courage, and vibrancy when I do everything I do in my day. I think we need to know what's going on, but I can't sit and watch the news for 3 hours. Like, personally, for me, that brings me down. That brings me to such a fearful, negative space. And I don't think that serves anyone. And especially it doesn't serve myself. So my self-care is to not watch news. And that is just me, but that's why I don't watch it. I want to know what's going on. Please share with me when something like huge is happening I probably should know about. But like, if the sky's falling and tomorrow we're all gonna die, I want to live this last evening to the best of my ability without that fear. That's just, it's that question of like, do you want to jump face first off? If you had to jump off of the building, do you want to jump face first, or do you want to jump lying back? And as scary as it would be, I feel like I would rotate around, open my arms, and lean back, and just fall that way, because at least I could look up at the sky and enjoy something on my way down, right? So that's me today. Messy, not smiling, but smiling through tears, ugly crying. And I want you to know that, like, it is self-care for me to share with you that it's okay to be in this state. Now, how do I get myself out of the funk? So when I took my class, and I know we hear this all the time, like, work out. And I know for a lot of people, we don't love to work out. That's totally fine. But I taught this power yoga class today, and it was the incorporation of the breathing. We did that breathing pattern when we started class. We went into this crazy power yoga. I had all different levels in there. So I was just trying to keep the heart rate up and then down and then up and then down. I was trying to do some type of hit, so it was workable for everybody at everybody's level. And what I noticed for myself is I was like, God, it feels good to breathe. It feels so good to exhale. So much can be accomplished in an exhale. All these things that you've heard me say, but like, it also feels so good just to be vulnerable, to share where I'm at, and for everyone to have known that that's where I was. And it got us all through this class. Like, I saw these powerful warriors accepting life's challenges, being ambitious about their capabilities of being vibrant in their own skins, owning where they're at, and acknowledging to push themselves and challenge themselves throughout the class. And when I finished, I grabbed my journal again and just like wrote down my experience. And I think there are days when I can accomplish a hell of a lot. And there are days when I need to just stop and reflect and self-care. The laundry will get folded, I promise you. Yes, it sucks that I have fur all over my floor, but I'm so glad that my fur baby didn't have to go to the vet today for like an emergency, like deboning or whatever you would want to call that, for an emergency Heimlich. You know, I'm so like relieved that I can share this, and I hope it's accepted. And again, like I said, this may be your favorite episode or it may be your least favorite episode, but I encourage you today or this week to share with someone, a loved one, what you're really feeling, and be honest with yourself. And maybe you don't feel comfortable doing that. I want to acknowledge where you're at, but maybe be really truly honest with it in your journaling then this week. If you can, or whisper it to someone or yourself, if you can just express it and be truly honest of where you're at. Don't just say, I'm stressed, I'm anxious. Like, truly try to break down why it is, where the root of it is, and like be okay with it. Because my root right now, I know my emotional state is whacked because I'm so, it's taken me a second. I'm so lonely currently. My family has been wonderful since I moved here in August. My dog, thank God I have her, which is probably why I freaked out so much while she was choking. And it's because I don't have my partner here, my number one cheerleader. And it's hard because it's really hard to admit that, because I am such an individualist. It took me a really long time to ask him for help in our relationship. Like, I would still climb up on the countertops to reach things. And the other day I climbed up on the countertop and I just started to break down and cry because I was like, oh my God, if Doug was here, he would like pull me off the countertop and like grab whatever I was reaching for. And I just want us to acknowledge, like, if we're feeling down, if we're feeling out, like, just be honest with yourself, be honest with where you're at. That is a form of self-care, and I want us to all to acknowledge that at some point this week or today, if you have a moment to really share with someone. So that is my challenge for you this week. Thank you so much for listening to this entire episode, as I was quite a mess as this happened. But hey, that's where I'm at. So today's episode is just clearing where you're at. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you have any responses to this specific episode, please let me know. If this is something that you really didn't like, then maybe keep that to yourself, or just let me know. No, seriously, feedback is always great, positive or negative. I just want to make sure that nobody feels that I am complaining. I'm just truly sharing where I'm at in this scenario with my ugly cries and my snot. Oh my God, how embarrassing. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at, friends. So a little bit of exposure here. It's not always sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows, as Douglas says about my brain. But I hope you're all having a great week. Like, I truly hope that you are. And I hope if you're not, you're able to admit to yourself and someone you care about and love where you're truly at. And it is going to help us get to tomorrow, when we can be brighter and vivacious, and chant that mantra to yourself too, or change it. Pick 4 verbs that really make you thrive. And I'm ambitious, I am capable, courageous, and vibrant. I'll see you on Monday, friends. Bye.